Consider the lilies, how they grow. They toil not, and yet I knew that all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. If then God so clothed us, which is today in the field and tomorrow is cast into the oven, how much more will he clothe you, O ye of little faith? And seek not ye what shall drink, neither be ye of doubtful mind.
This is our kingdom, a kingdom of righteousness. Praise the Lord. Praise ye the Lord.
For all these things do them seek after, and your Father knoweth that ye have need of these. But rather seek ye the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. Fear not, little flock, for it is good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell that ye have, and give alms. Provide yourselves bags with wax not odor in the heavens, that faileth not, where no thief approacheth, neither moth corrupteth. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. To the kingdom of Israel! Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh, Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh, Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh, Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh.
Legend. Aristocracy, meaning rule of the best. A group or class considered superior to others. A government by the best men in the state. A governing body composed of the best men in the state, and that's the elect. We're about to have it all right? Psalms 37 and verse 11. And it reads, but the meek shall inherit the earth and themselves in the abundance of peace. That word for peace in the Hebrew is shalom, which goes into safety, soundness in body, meaning we're going to truly have rest. Welfare, health, prosperity, peace, contentment. So we're going to fully enjoy the planet Earth. We're going to rule and exist within the Lord's creation as we created. I'm ready to go, man.
The golden light of this sunset guide our hearts in peace.
Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell that ye have, and give alms. Provide yourselves bags which wax not old, a treasure in the heavens that faileth not, where no thief approacheth, neither moth corrupteth. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem, Kakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his young brothers, and peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful elect out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem, and Kakwadash, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Al Shah. All right, and what I want to get into this morning news and prophecy, dealing with, tension in the Persian Gulf. All right, you have a little, scuffling between, Iran and America, which we know eventually, all right, that thing is going to go full blown. It's going to get kicked back. It's going to accelerate, okay, to all out war. All right, so just going into, the latest on that, and dealing with the accuser of the brethren, the latest, incident, all of a sudden now, Jakes are shooting up the White House. Okay, here it is. Niggas are scared of, all right, these Edomite police officers, certain counties that don't, play the radio with Jake. Here it is. Niggas are terrified to go into certain areas in certain counties, all right, where the police are strict. But now all of a sudden, Jake is so bold and so tactical, all right, that they're getting inside the White House, certain facilities, and Jake is so tactical now that they're letting off shots, at the White House. Okay. And we know that it's we're not ignorant of Satan's devices, as the scriptures say. So let's get into some precepts and then get into some news, and may you brothers and you few sisters be informed, edified. Now, when you go here, read a couple of these in the AMP. Okay, when you go to 1 Peter 4:7, it said the end and culmination of all things is near. Okay, and everything that we're going into is just a culmination of the end of Esau's kingdom and the end of our captivity. Because prophecy is centered around the nations of Jacob and Esau, all right, the Israelites and the Edomites. Okay, and when you say the end, well, it's the end of Esau's rulership and the end of our captivity. So everything that we're seeing is a culmination. All right, these events is all a culmination to the end of those two things. Okay, it said therefore be sound minded and self control. Yeah, this is the time to be poised in the spirit. This is time, hey brothers, lock in. You few sisters that's patiently, and sincerely, waiting, on the Lord to, do what He do. Hey, lock in. Tap in. Our patience is going to pay off. Everyone's patience of the hopeful elect is going to pay off, man. And as we go through these things, these should be faith boosters. Okay, these should be all faith boosters going into these events because these things were spoken of. The Lord went into detail. Not only did He speak of them, He went into detail of how these things were playing out, and it's playing out according to these details, man. So we should be very poised in the spirit. This ain't the time, all right, to be reckless, impulsive, poor decision making. Nah, man, we in the time, all right, to be sound minded, man. To have self control more than ever. You see, it says for the purpose of prayer, stay in balance and focus on the things of the Most High so that your communication will be clear, reasonable, specific, and pleasing to Him. Okay, so now, all right, as we see the Lord is doing what He said He's going to do, man, well, isn't He going to fulfill the rest of the promises, man? If He's fulfilling this part of prophecy, is He not going to fulfill the other parts of prophecy, man? Okay, well, we're going to be in rulership forever. We're going to get new bodies. All right, and He's going to restore families. He's going to start everything afresh. Okay, so we keep up with these things that's going on. All right, the spirit of a watchman, because this plays into, all right, the promises, all right, that the Lord has for His people, man. The restoration of paradise in the earth. Well, these events lead up to it, man. The things that we're going into, man. All right. So when we go here, let's go to Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 1 and say, oh, this is the NLT. You see, this is the book of Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 1. It says, I will stand at my guard post. Okay, and see the Lord has put His men on guard. All right, to watch what's happening in the spirit. It says, and station myself on the tower. Okay, that's why brothers are stationed. Brothers are at their station. Each brother has their office, each brother has their station, okay, on the wall, okay, because the wall will go around the whole city and you have different towers and different stations upon that wall, man. And that's how the Lord has it set up in the spirit, with the ministry of prophets, man. and the believers that are within the walls, okay, the believers, as you see, they're able to be informed by the watchmen on the tower of what's to come or what they see. You see, and it says, and then you got other, watchmen that talk to each other because they see something that your brother's viewpoint, and he's able to inform each other and just keep everybody informed. Okay, and that's the spirit that the Lord got. That's the system that the Lord got going on in the spirit. It says, and I will keep watch to see what he will say to me and what answer I will give as his spokesman when I am reproved. Okay, because when we first, come into the truth, man, hey, this word reproves us, man. Before we get established in our office, we get reproved by this word. Then we become what? As we repent sincerely and grow in this thing, we become his spokesman. As we begin to watch, well, everything that we're seeing, like that relates to prophecy, man. So Lord speaking to his watchmen, letting us know what time we in, man. Okay. So it says, verse 2 said, the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and engrave it plainly on clay tablets, so that the one who reads it will run. Okay, and that's the scriptures. The scriptures are the tablets, the scrolls. All right, and our forefathers wrote the visions that they had. They had them scribe and wrote them themselves. But they wrote them, all right, as plainly as they could, describing them plainly as they could. Okay, and now, all right, we can run with this message because all the technology, okay, that didn't exist back then, okay, now it exists. See, there's certain technology that didn't exist to fulfill prophecy, the vision that our forefathers were seeing, technology that wasn't introduced to the world. Okay, so they were describing it plainly as they could, but now as we have, this technology exists, okay, and the Holy Spirit has given us discernment. Well, we have, all right, the full circle when it comes to prophecy, man. We're able to expound, and run, with the message, man. Okay. Verse 3 says, for the vision is yet for the appointed future time. The appointed future time, and we're in, all right, the future time. And there's an appointed time for each prophecy that happened, within this appointed time. Everything is set up, man. Like certain dates, like I say, going back to, 1969, there was an appointed time. That was the end of 350 years, okay, or 42 months when you go into the prophecies of, Daniel and Revelation, the 13th chapter, okay. There was an appointed time for us to awaken, and begin to stand on our feet. There was an appointed time. Okay. There was an appointed time for the camps, to go out, those altars, okay, in Egypt. You see, there was an appointed time. The devil kicked off this war, February 28th. In 2026, that was already appointed before the foundation of the earth, man. These times are already appointed. So these events that we're seeing, they all have an appointed time. Okay. And everything is being fulfilled according to the timing of the Lord. You see, it says, for the vision, yet for the appointed future time, it hurries towards the goal of fulfillment. It will not fail. Even though it delays, wait patiently for it, because it will certainly come. It will not delay. Okay. And see, most people, when they look at prophecy, and they look at, how things, happen and go back, to so-called normalcy. Well, the Lord does these things for the sake of testing patience, man. Because as we want the kingdom right now. Well, there's still a thing of patience, man. You see, and it's a thing of faith, because that's why faith is being tested when it seems like these things are tarrying. All right, but the Lord is at work. That's one thing about being tapped into prophecy. We see the Lord at work. And if you're not tapped into prophecy, it can seem like nothing is happening. And a lot of people get disenchanted, because it seems like this thing is tarrying. But no, This thing has an appointed time. And in these last days, we've seen, time be sped up. The Lord has, really increased and accelerated, time, because he's getting ready to wrap this up, man, you know, and it's a daily, patience that we have for the Lord to fulfill his promises, man. Okay. So let's go here real quick. Let's get this in Jeremiah, and then we're going to some news. But when you go here to Jeremiah 51, all right, and this is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 51, and verse 46, and this is the AMP. It says, "Now beware, so that you do not lose heart." Okay, and so that you are not afraid at the rumor that will be heard in the land. For rumor shall come 1 year, and after that another rumor in another year, and violence, all right, shall be in the land, ruler against ruler. And what we're seeing now, is these different rulers, these different governments, all right, beginning to posture themselves against one another. As we hear, rumors, this what this nation got going on, what this nation got going on, all right, certain moves being made, and it's all centered around this conflict between America and Iran, these small hats, okay? And we know that these nations are going to enter into this conflict. See, this is the conflict that's going to draw these other nations, okay, and create a third world war, okay? So it's just a thing of patiently waiting for these things to unfold and see these things work in our favor. See, we're not panicking. People, hate to talk about war. They hate to talk about, especially, nuclear war. Nah, man, we don't panic at these things because these things must be. How should I say, look, these things must be. This is a part of the process, all right, of the transition of power, from Esau went to Jacob. Okay, so these things must be. All right. And what we're saying, is these nations have now, because ain't no going backwards. All right. You got, this ceasefire. All right. But even within the ceasefire, these nations, America and Iran still been scuffling, man. Because the Lord just got this thing kindling. You see, the Lord just got this fire, kindling, man. You see, and eventually he gonna blow the fire, and this thing is gonna what? It's gonna intensify, man. Okay, but there's other prophecies that's being fulfilled. Okay, as the Lord has that prophecy of World War III kindling, man. Okay, verse 47 said, "Therefore, behold, listen carefully. The days are coming when I will judge and punish the idols of Babylon." Okay, because this third world war, all right, a major part of this war is going to be to punish Babylon. Okay, America, man. You see, to turn America into a desert, that's one of the objectives of World War III. Because when you go into war, you should have objectives. See, what America is doing, one of the things that that's being scrutinized with America, these military analysis, analysts, so like they'll say no one knows the objectives of America in this war. Okay, now we know on the higher level, this is a scheme to do a global reset. Okay. So that's why when you ask, the American, military personnel, even from Trump on down, they can never give you a clear military objective, man. You know, because it was regime change, but that failed. Okay. So now, all right, the devils have to go with, this full blown global reset. Okay. But going back to the military objective of Yahweh Shem Al Shai, well, this war, a part of this war is going to, of course, the elect going to be delivered. Okay, that's a military objective. It's like a rescue mission, a scrapulation mission to, get the elect, okay, out of harm's way. Okay, on these chariots as judgment go forth. Okay, to destroy the militaries of these other nations to make it, impossible for them okay, to operate, man. You see, and then you're gonna have America that's gonna be turned to a desert. You see, so Yahushua, he's gonna come and scrapulate the elect, okay, eradicate the militaries of the earth, disarm the earth, okay, and then he's gonna turn America to a desert. You see, and all those objectives are gonna be fulfilled according to prophecy, man. Jeremiah 51:47 said, "Therefore, behold, listen carefully. The days are coming when I will judge and punish the idols of Babylon. Her whole land will be perplexed and shame." Because America going to be the worst place to be. Leading all the way up to the missiles, man. America is going to be the worst place to be, man. Okay, if you're not, Israelite of the elect. Okay, this is going to be the worst place to be. It says, "And all her slain will fall in her midst. The heaven, okay, and earth, and all that is in them will shout and sing for joy over Babylon. For the destroyers will come against her from the north," beginning with Russia. All right, when Russia, when Russia and America make their direct contact, which Russia's in the background, okay, with this, with this scuffling between Iran and America. All right, and we know according to prophecy, what side they're going to take, man. You see? So it says, "For the destroyers will come against her from the north, says the Lord, Yahweh Bashim al-Shai. Yahweh Bashim al-Shai. Indeed, Babylon is to fall, okay, for the slain of Israel." So the Lord going to even the score about, Americans, all right, cruelty towards Israel because they took it too far. The Lord was pissed at us, but these devils took it way too far. And what they did, they amplified the behavior, they got us punished in the first place. Okay? They provoked Israel to more of the behavior that got us punished in the first place, man. You see? And then there's a price to pay for that. There's a vengeance. Okay, and that's another thing. Vengeance is going to be taking place, all right, in this third world war, man. Okay, it says it's also for Babylon, the slain of all the earth have fallen. Yeah. America is responsible for a lot of death, destruction, poverty, okay, torment, oppression in the earth, man. You see, and all the wickedness of this American system, okay, ran by the elites, this wicked economical system, okay, this wicked rogue, all right, destructive military, okay, the damage that is done in the earth. That's why all this going to come back to America in a moment, and this place is going to be destroyed in an hour. Now, let's go from there. I want to play this first clip, just to give an update, what's been going on in that region and in the Persian Gulf. All right, so let's go here. Yeah, so what you have over there in the Strait, is America and Iran. They to explain it in layman's term, it's like they slap boxing. They haven't gone full blown. All right, they haven't gone to full blown, war again. All right, but there's a tension that's brewing, that's trending towards their way. So let's play just a little bit of this.
Retaliatory missile strikes on an American. This was the moment when the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps of Iran launched retaliatory missile strikes on an American base in Kuwait. The attack occurred hours after what Tehran described as an American strike near Bandar Abbas Airport. The IRGC released this dramatic footage of the missile fire that is said to have targeted an unknown American base in the Gulf nation of Kuwait. The visuals released by IRGC showed multiple missile launches lighting up the night sky. The footage also includes scenes of IRGC personnel placing anti-American posters on missiles before launch. One poster appeared to depict a man standing on the American flag. According to the IRGC, The operation was carried out in response to what it called an act of American aggression on a location on the outskirts of Bandar Abbas Airport in southern Iran. In a statement issued on Thursday, the elite military force said it targeted the U.S. airbase in Kuwait that it claims was used to launch the earlier attack. Iranian media outlets described the strike as a direct retaliatory operation and presented the newly released footage as evidence of that response. The IRGC said the attack was intended as a warning to Washington. In its statement, the force declared that any aggression against the Islamic Republic would not be unanswered. It described the operation as a serious warning to the enemy and stressed that any future attack would trigger what it called a more decisive response. The U.S. military hasn't commented on the claim of attack on its base in Kuwait. However, the Defense Ministry of Kuwait did confirm the missile and drone attack targeting the country's airspace.
Yeah, so basically what you had, America, supposedly struck a few targets, inside Iran. All right, Iran, struck, at the Navy vessels, within the Persian Gulf. All right, and they also struck, all right, a base in Kuwait, the American base. All right, which, more information to come out, about these attacks and more details, as things unfold, time unfold, so just going into what we see, like I say, they're feeling each other out. They're getting ready to engage. Because eventually they're gonna re-engage. Whether it's weeks from now, days from now, months from now, next year, hey, they're gonna eventually re-engage. So what they do, just heat checks. So what you'll see every now and then is just heat checks. Kind of see where each other at. What new system they got in theater. What's just feeling each other out. Like you had heavy. Back and forth, heavy exchanges, for those 40 days. Okay, and now, they're coming out the corner again and they feeling each other out, before they start throwing haymakers again. You see? And you see the small hats ain't being mentioned and show you how much they've been damaged and they don't want no part, all right, of no Iran retaliation at this point. Like they'll bomb, civilians in Beirut. And you'll look at it like that. The small hats are still strong. No, they're not. All right. You see, they ain't involved in this. Okay. You see, it's just American Iran. All right. You see the small hats still on the bench when it comes to this one, because this is big boy shit. Okay. Iran, just showed that it's way out of the small hats weight class. Okay. When it comes to going head up. All right. So the fact that they're not involved yet, which eventually they're going to do something impulsive, but they not so quick. See, they used to be quick to just, but they do that when they got a major advantage, when it's their Air Force, versus civilians. Yeah, they the hardest niggas on earth there. Okay. But the fact that they're not even assisting America, in these different military operations shows you, all right, how much deterrence Iran established, in 40 days. Okay, but eventually them niggas gonna, weasel their way back in, and do something impulsive. Okay, because it's written in prophecy, man. You see? Well, let's play a little more, then we'll segue to the next story.
This is the moment when Iran launched a retaliatory strike against an American base in Kuwait following U.S. attacks in the country's south. According to Iran's state broadcaster IRIB, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps targeted an American base early Thursday morning in Kuwait. The IRGC says the strike came after what it described as aggression by the invading U.S. military against a location near Bandar Abbas Airport using aerial projectiles. Iran claims the American airbase linked to that attack was hit at 4:50 a.m. local time. That's 12:20 GMT. The exact location of the targeted U.S. base has not been disclosed. However, Kuwait, a key U.S. ally in the region, says it responded to missile and drone attacks on Thursday morning. The this exchange now threatens the fragile 4 days after U.S. President Donald Trump claimed a deal to extend the truce by another 60 days was close to being finalized.
I'm going to Billmore. Base 40.
Fresh reports from Iranian media claim naval forces confronted multiple vessels attempting to enter the Persian Gulf. According to Iran's Tasnim news agency, 4 vessels attempting to cross the Strait of Hormuz were intercepted by Iranian naval forces after allegedly failing to coordinate with Iranian authorities. Tasnim, citing an informed military source, reported that the vessels were initially issued warnings. The report claims the ships ignored those warnings, prompting Iranian forces to fire warning shots. According to the Iranian account, the vessels were then forced to turn back before entering the Persian Gulf. The reports have not been independently verified, and there has been no immediate confirmation from U.S. authorities or other international sources regarding the incident.
So yeah, man, they still have, which these things aren't publicized as much, because the devil got so much going on, that he jumped from story to story, and but there's still scuffles going on in their region, and they had just, like I say, they're filling each other out, and even certain American military personnel, are being killed. It was a high-ranking officer, he was a Jake, that was taken out the other day, so they still have, it's still kindling over there. All right. That fire ain't out, it's still kindling. All it take is the Lord to blow on it. Okay. And it's gonna, all right. A powder kid. You see? So let's go from there. All right. Let's segue to this video. If a brother could, because the devil, like we say, he's so predictable. All right. So now you have another so-called White House shooting. Okay, so now, all right, niggas are just, this is niggas new things. Remember, niggas are scared to go into certain counties, okay, where they know the police are strict. Okay, but then now niggas are so bold that they just running around, the bar room. Okay, niggas just running past security, shooting. So now this guy got some shots off and he's in, now niggas are in shootouts with the Secret Service. Okay. And then the narrative that they're pushing, we know that they're framing, okay, a case against the prophets, man. Okay. There's no doubt about it. All right. So if brother want to post that too, the Accuser of the Brethren, Revelation 12, and also let's get let me see what it say at the AMP. And let's get that 2 Corinthians 2 and 11 in the NLT Bob Pashah. Let me see if you give something AMP. Yeah, let's get that in Luke chapter 6, verses 22 and 23, Bible shot. But let's play this. Let's play this real quick.
Now let's go to Madeline Rivera in Washington on the shooting outside the White House yesterday. Maddie, what can you tell us?
Hi, good morning, guys. So this happened around 6 p.m. local time. So for those that don't know, that's usually around the time that correspondents live shots. So many of them actually heard the shots, and some of them scrambled to the ground for cover. The White House was placed on lockdown for nearly an hour. A Secret Service spokesperson says a person came to the checkpoint near 17th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue, and per their preliminary investigation, they say as the man walked up, he took a gun from his bag and began firing at officers. The Secret Service, they shot back and hit the suspect, who later died at a local hospital. Multiple sources now tell Fox News Digital the suspect was identified as 21-year-old Nazir Best from Maryland. Best allegedly had multiple run-ins with the Secret Service and had a history of mental health issues. He was reportedly detained.
And listen to how, they're framing the story, okay? Mental health issues, okay? Because you best believe they're going to deem us, mentally ill for what we believe, man. All right, so they frame this guy as having multiple run-ins. All right, so he's a menace to society, okay? And he has mental health issues. You see? So how is he having multiple run-ins with the Secret Service? Like what is he doing? You see what's going on? All right, but this is the narrative, man. Let's go.
By Secret Service on June 26 last year for flagging down agents and making threats, and again the next month for entering a restricted area. President Trump was at the White House when this happened, but he was not affected. The president later reacting onto social, saying this: "Thank you to our great Secret Service and law enforcement for the swift and professional action taken this evening against a gunman near the White House who had a violent history and possible obsession with our country's most cherished structure. The gunman is dead after an exchange of gunfire with Secret Service agents near the White House gates." This event is 1 month removed from the White House Correspondents' Dinner shooting and goes to show how important it is for all future presidents to get what will be the most safe and secure space of its kind ever built in Washington, D.C. The president there appearing to refer to the White House ballroom. White House aide Stephen Chung says the president continued working through the evening, posting, "It's 9:30 p.m. on a Saturday night, and President Trump is still in the Oval Office working hard for the American people. He's simply one of one."
Yeah, so you have a month ago, all right, you had this light-skinned Jake. Now you have this darker-skinned Jake, man. Esau be sending these messages, man, northern, southern kingdom, so you have this lighter-skinned Jake who supposedly tried to, assassination attempt, all right, on Trump last month, okay? And then they had him subdued, on the ground, fully subdued. You see? Then you got this guy here, all right, Nasir, who was in the shootout, supposedly in the shootout with the Secret Service and put to death. Okay, so you have the light-skinned Jake, now you have the dark-skinned Jake, going to the northern and southern kingdom, man. All right, if the brother want to post that as well, in Revelation, how these two prophets tormented them. Okay. Yeah, man, because the devil he's gearing up to make his move. In this story, there's a lot of cold talk. All right, that shows that he's getting ready to make his move. What he said that this guy was obsessed with the highest structure of government. So they're framing the narrative that this guy was obsessed with the government, and see, they can easily put together a compilation with brothers teaching and make it seem like we're just obsessed, with the government. Like we just always talk about this, this wicked government, which that's a major part of what we talk about, man. And we obsessed with a righteous kingdom coming, and we know that this kingdom, okay, is going to fall, man. This kingdom is in the way of everything that's righteous, man. Okay, and if brother want to post that as well, Second Ezra chapter 4 verses 28, okay, through 29. Just to get to the point. All right. Let's get this real quick from the brother. It says 2 Corinthians 2:11 says, "So that Satan will not outsmart us, all right, for we are familiar with his evil schemes." Yeah, man, we know the devil, these same tactics, he pretty much does the same, he has the same formula, it's the same things. So we know that he's framing the narrative, okay, that he can run with, and link it to brothers, man. We know where he's going with these things. Okay, we know his agenda, his goal through the spirit and power. How about Shema Shai? Okay, and what is this nigga? This real? This nigga Stephen Chung. This nigga like a real life cone head, man. I wanted this a real picture of this, But hey, let's play some more of this.
The Secret Service says a bystander was shot during the incident, but it's unclear whether they were initially hit by the suspect or during the crossfire. Charlie, Rachel, and Griff.
Thank you, Maddie. Joins us now. Thank you for joining us this morning, Jeff. Based on what the information we have now, and there have been a number of runs with this suspect over the past year and a half, do we think that the obsession of this shooter, this gunman, had to do with President Trump specifically, or just the presidency and the White House? Is there anything that gives us any indication about that?
Nothing initially, but that'll be figured out. And in my career, I did 2 years as an intelligence specialist in our intelligence division. And we would see that. We would see people who were obsessed with the presidency period, not just one person. That goes all the way to President Ford before he eventually shot President Reagan. So it wouldn't be unusual to see an obsession with the White House and the presidency as a whole rather than one president.
So, Jeff, let me ask you what you make of when we look at the actual location, which I believe is 17th in Pennsylvania, where the gunman was able to at least get to and fire off shots. What do you make of where this occurred? And does it call for even more hardened security around the White House by Secret Service?
Well, the first thing I want to point out is that, the security measures work. This person didn't get inside the perimeter. He shot through the fence. The fence line from the north portico, you have about 70 yards to Pennsylvania Avenue, and then this was down on the corner. So you're a good couple hundred yards away from the White House itself by the time you get to 17th Street. We can't continue. If we tried to move the cordon out any farther at that point, we're starting to encompass businesses, which really lends itself to less security when you encompass a place where more people have to come and go. So the perimeter, the 18 acres that the White House covers, the perimeters are literally pushed out as far as they can go, right in the center of D.C. there.
All right.
All right. Jeff James, thank you for joining us and for all those details. Appreciate it.
Be sure to.
Yeah, just like the brother said, he claimed, to be JC, Jesus Christ. Okay, and then when you go into their name, Nasir, okay, Nasir, I don't know exactly how they spell his name, but when you go into Nasir, what does it mean? Because these devils be talking to each other in code. Okay, it said Nasir is the masculine name of Arabic origin, because they want to link us to Islamic jihadists. Okay, they want to link us to that stigma that they already, have demonized. All right, it said translate to helper, supporter, or protector, derived from the root word Nasir. It can also signify victor or one who grants victory. Okay, it goes into a term is used in Islamic texts to describe those who aid or support, all right, the faith. Okay, so you go into faith, victory. You see, as we have faith in the victory, and Esau like, well, nigga, I'm gonna kill y'all faith and y'all victory. Okay. So we know how these devils, speak to each other in code with these names, they make up names for these certain characters. All right. And they speak to each other, to let each other know where they at with it. Okay. So we know the schemes of Esau, man. You see, we know what he's framing up. All right. Through the spirit and power, how about Shema Shai? Okay. But we got a power that's going to stand for us, man. All right. Brother can get that. Let's get some of these off the comment board. And Bob Bashar, if you could put 2nd Ezra 4:28, as well, Bob Bashar. So let's go here. And say, oh, he's obsessed with the presidents, and and they can easily link their narrative to what we teach. These talking points, these so-called gunmen and these beliefs of these gunmen. They can easily link these things up to what we believe. Okay, same thing Nero did in ancient Rome. You see, and who's in office? Nero, man. Everything is full circle, man. The stage is set. Okay, this is our servants for Yahushua. All right, Luke 6:22 said, "Blessed are ye when men shall hate you, and when they shall separate you from their company, and shall reproach you and cast you out. All right, and cast out your name as evil for the Son of Man's sake, man." Okay, so Esau's getting ready to demonize. Okay, we're going to be the target of his propaganda. We're going to be the direct target of these devil's propaganda. And we're going to be looked at as evil. All right, to most of the world. You see, most of the world's going to look at us as evil, man. That's why, we got to get used to not being liked now. We getting used to being, the villain of the family. Some brothers even villains in their households for what they believe. Okay, you see, you could even be a villain in your marriage based on what you believe, man, on what we believe. You see, so the Lord is getting us used to being a villain now, because we're going to be the devil's going to paint us as a villain on a whole nother scale. Okay, but we know, like, we stand for righteousness. The world is wrong. You see, we gotta be rooted in that understanding as well. We stand for righteousness. The world is wrong, man. Because this devil, he's gonna push this propaganda, man. And if we not rooted, man, those things can sway us, man. But no, the world is wrong, man. We're standing for righteousness. We're standing for life. We want peace in the earth, man. But we know there's a process to that peace, man. And it's written in the scriptures. It's not nothing that we're conjuring up on our own. Okay, that we'll orchestrate some type of military. No, the Lord has a process, okay, of war, famine, pestilence, okay, destruction before peace is established, man. You see? So verse 23, Luke 6:23 says, "Rejoice ye in that day and leap for joy, for behold, your reward is great in heaven. For in the like manner did their fathers unto the prophets. For in like manner did their fathers unto the prophets," man. So that's a legacy of the prophets, man, is to be hated. Because the prophets, are against, a wickedness, man. And this world loves wickedness, man. Even amongst our people. That's why, our people, you go throughout history, man. Our people didn't want to hear for the prophets because they wanted to enjoy the current age of folly, man. And it's no different in this time, man. Our people are going to look at us as a hindrance, between them and this current age of folly. The prophets got this spirit of the party poopers, man. Okay, snatching the plug out the DJ system, man. You see, closing down the bar. Okay, of this wicked empire, man. So let's go here. This is the brother GMSDC Taza Doctor Yara'ah, second Esdras 4:28. It says, "But it's concerning the things whereof thou askest me, I will tell thee. For the evil is sown, but the destruction therefore is not yet come." Okay, and this goes back to the garden. Okay, when the serpent, he incorporated wickedness into the world, through Eve. Eve brought it, all right, to Adam. Okay, the nigga brought it to Adam, and then you have, these. Let me see, verse 29. Yeah, probably when you let brothers put verse 29. Because verse 29 is the uprooting. All right, that's the justification of this nigga kingdom being uprooted, man. Okay, because Esau, Edom, he operates in that wickedness that was back in the garden. All right, the same spirit that was in the serpent was the same spirit, okay, that operates, okay, the earth today, that runs the earth today, man. Okay, that wicked influence from the garden, well, it runs the earth today. You see? So I'm gonna get verse 29 real quick. Because I know some precepts brothers try to put up and just won't let it go up. Because verse 29, right, is the headshot, okay, to Esau's kingdom. So when you go to Second Esdras 4 in verse 29, all right, and then we'll segue, okay, to something else. Real quick, in Second Esdras 4 and 29, it says, "If therefore that which is sown be not turned upside down, which is this current wicked kingdom, okay, which is nothing but an extension of the wickedness, okay, that was sown in the earth back in the garden, man. Okay, it says, and if the place where the evil is sown pass not away, America being completely destroyed, which has been, all right, the central command of wickedness in the earth, man. You know, then cannot it come that is sown with good, that is sown with good. You see? So how about Shema Shah, has this thing set up, okay, to where this wicked empire has to be completely eradicated, man. And then a righteous kingdom is gonna be established, man. Okay, and Esau, he gonna try to flip it. Oh, they obsessed with the government, man. Ain't nobody obsessed, all right, with the regular ass tech ass government, man. All right, we ready. Hey, we ready for the Lord to pack you niggas up. That's what we obsessed with, man. The end of your government, man. The end of your wicked rulership, man. Okay, so let's let's see. I think there's one more. Brother got. Then we're gonna segue. Okay. Yep. So this is Revelation 12 and 10. And it says, this is brother from brother servants for Yahushua. 144 says, and I heard a loud voice saying to heaven, now has come salvation and the strength of the kingdom of our power, and the power of his anointed, for the accuser of our brethren is cast down, all right, which accused them before our power day and night, which accused them for our power day and night. Okay? So the accuser, which is Esau Edom, is getting ready to be cast down. All right, the Lord's finna get ready to wipe this man off the map, man. Okay, his rulership is gonna be stripped from him. He's gonna go into captivity, man. Okay, the American, his American empire, his American system that dominated the world, Babylon and Great. Okay, it's gonna be eradicated, turned into powder, man. Okay, military turned into powder, AI infrastructure turned to powder. Okay, so let's go here. Okay, and let's get Revelation 11:18. You can close on that one. You close every news and prophecy with that one. So this is a insider. This whole interview, he goes into some things. All right, because like I said, people are really revolting against the data centers, man. Which is going to cause this man to have to really come with it. Pressure is being put on the devil. All right, from all sides, man. Okay, so let's play this. All right, he's going to go into some things and play a little snippet of a few minutes, about 7, 8 minutes maybe. But it's about an hour interview and it's pretty interesting. This guy goes into some things. This guy Hakeem Anwar. All right, but let's play this.
Right, this is going to drive up energy costs for everyone. Okay, the power companies just want us for everyone. In some parts of the United States, Bloomberg estimated that its electricity prices are tripling in Virginia. So everyone's going to make more money there, and it's economic forces. They can do it, so they're doing it. The other thing is the other aspect too, because it's like we've already gone through financial trauma here in the United States and in the world. We're not doing good financially, but there's this one thing left, which is land and power. So our data centers, the final grab at our environment, so that water is inaccessible. Is it easier to lead people through 15-minute cities if they can't feed themselves? And this is a real thing we have to think about.
And so looking at, because that's, you made an interesting point there, right? In terms of what these data centers do to rural America, because a lot of what I'm seeing, my hometown of Columbus, Ohio, there's a lot of big data centers there, but they're in relatively populated areas, and New Albany is a big area, so they're not out in more rural areas. But a lot of what I'm seeing are these big data centers being built out near towns with 2,000 people, 1,000 people, and it's in certain ways it's almost making those towns in uninhabitable between the noise, the light pollution, the water. And so, so it's kind of like you either move further out into the country, or you kind of just move towards the cities. If
And they want people in the cities. They want to depopulate. They want to destroy people's ability, all right, to farm, okay, which is hog all the resources for the data centers and hog the remainder, all right, the survivors of the chaos to these smart cities. So they're making everything else unlivable. They're making these rural areas unlivable, man. Okay. That's why they're putting these data centers, all throughout these rural areas and making it unlivable, man, sucking up the resources. I said the air pollution, the noise pollution, water depletion, okay, respiratory problems. So they're completely destroying, all right, the ability for people to self-sustain, okay, because the devil needs everyone dependent on him and his technology, man. Okay, his digital infrastructure. You see, so this is what we're seeing happening with these data centers, man. These death centers, man. Okay, so to play some more.
if you're not going to end up living like that, and so yeah, that also, like, that's a big part of it, because I try to look at these things, and you mentioned the tinfoil hat. I think I have one that's like permanently glued to my scalp with everything, with how I look at everything. And, I'm seeing, okay, how does this fit in, right, to this more globalist agenda with 15-minute cities, with, how does it tie into what the WHO is doing, what the WEF is doing, with, BlackRock and some of these bigger organizations that we know have really been kind of slowly rolling out a somewhat dystopian way of life, to put it lightly. And so, in terms of, you said it's a coordinated push. Now, I know that last year Trump signed an executive order about data centers, and kind of allocating federal land for them and doing some things that open doors for them. But rarely see, it's kind of like when COVID happened, right? It wasn't some just random organic, every country around the world had the exact same response, the exact same language, safe and effective, 2 weeks to slow the spread. It was pretty obvious for some people that it was a globally coordinated event. And so, when you're looking at this push for data centers, would you say that it's centrally coordinated, and where is that push coming from for this?
It's coming straight from the top. We can look at the Stargate project at the beginning of 2025, which was Trump, OpenAI, Oracle, SoftBank doing a $500 billion investment into data centers, which was that's just a tiny piece of the total pie, right? But that's a signal to institutional investors and to other big tech companies. And then Trump has also tried to pass legislation that goes even lighter on data centers, and tries to make them critical infrastructure, so they can escape environmental reviews and historical reviews. And we know he's already done that with other things like the 6G rollout, with the American Broadband Deployment Act. Luckily, that was rejected specifically for data centers, but it doesn't really matter, because it seems to have gotten the green light, and these companies have so much power in legal finesse. They have some of the best lawyers in the world they weaseled their way in to every part of America. I'm just going to bring up
because it's from up top. Okay, the green light came from all right, the elites up top. Okay, so they're bypassing, all this, this legal, red tape. Okay, the bureaucracy. All right, because Congress, because even when you go into real quick, well, I'm gonna go into this first. We're gonna show you how irrelevant the government is in the midst of all this. Okay, you America, you don't have a government. Okay, you do not have a government. You have a tyrannical system. Okay, that's built to keep you confused. All right, you have a cabinet of witches and warlocks that's meant to keep you enchanted, confused, oppressed. Okay, you don't have a government that's working on your behalf. No part of the government is working on your behalf because what we're seeing happen in America is coming from up top. Okay, so these data centers, no matter how you vote, no matter your local officials or any of that, don't matter, man. Okay, these devils are full steam ahead with technocracy, man. Okay, you American people have been given fully over, all right, to a technocracy. Okay, and Trump is their bridge from the old so-called democracy, where there was a farce, an illusion, okay, of the people having power, to a full-blown technocracy, man. Okay, but watch what he goes into dealing with, these aquifers. With this something I learned, it's something new I learned just watching this. Okay, let's play this.
So this is the country's aquifers. Actually, these are the major U.S. aquifers. So you were mentioning earlier that this is something you want to get out of these areas that are really bad with data centers and move out farther into the country. But for me, like a spiritual realization when I was working on this was, oh, dude, you don't even know how our water system works. Like I don't even know how our water system works. How does it work? And then it turns out we have these amazing giant bodies of water under the ground. So these bodies of water under the ground, they don't claim allegiance to a state or even a country, right? They're just in the ground. And so you see that data centers are more or less, especially the hyperscalers, are located near areas with aquifers. Not all of them.
Oh, so the color, like the greens and the yellows, so those are the aquifers?
That's right. Yeah, and these are the 13 major aquifers of the United States from the U.S. Geological Service. So
Oh, interesting.
and so like this is just how society is built today. Yeah, like cities are going to be positioned on top of aquifers, of course, and so the way it works is that the municipality will get their water from the aquifer, and then data centers, heavy industry, agriculture located on top of these aquifers will be able to drill directly into them and take their water. Now, what most people don't realize is the United States is in severe groundwater depletion. Right. This is the World Resources Institute for water depletion in the United States, and you can see that some of the worst places in the U.S. for data centers are also severely water depleted.
And no one is seeing this, because everyone's just used to turning on the water. Okay, everyone is just used to water being so readily available. No one is seeing that this man is sucking the water out the ground. All right, to cool these data centers. Okay, nobody is seeing this happen. That's why when you even go into Bob Kashaf, brother, want to post that on Second Esdras 16. Let's get Second Esdras 16 and 21 and 22. And let's get that Revelation 11 and 18. Revelation 11 and 18 and Second Esdras 16 verses 21 and 22. Okay, so this is happening right underneath people. Okay, like you go into this devil, man. This devil is really, the problem of the earth, man. He's really a plague. He's really a virus that sucks life out the earth, man. Literally, man. Okay, So you go into these aquifers, just go into it real quick. You know, I looked it up. Okay, what is an aquifer? Okay, so you go here. All right. So you go into an aquifer. Now, aquifer, it says an aquifer is a large, permeable, all right, underground layer of rock, sand, gravel, or sediment that is saturated with groundwater. It acts as a massive natural reservoir and acts like a sponge, storing and slowly moving water beneath the Earth's surface to feed wells, rivers, and springs, man. You know, the Lord, when He created the earth, man, He created, you know, systems to maintain the earth, to maintain life in the earth, man. Okay. So where you got, you know, this concept called an aquifer, which is a groundwater. You know, it's like a storage of water. Okay. And it says to function as an aquifer, a geological formation must have two critical properties. All right. It says porosity. It said the percentage of empty space, pores, or cracks within the rock or sediment that dictates how much water the aquifer can hold. Permeability, the degree of which these pore spaces are interconnected. High permeability allows water to flow freely through materials such as gravel and fractured limestone, making it accessible for extraction, man. And that's why you get your wells. You know, that's why your wells, they replenish themselves, okay, because of what these aquifers that's underground. You know, they're storing water, you know, from the rain, you know, from rivers, okay? It's a system of water storage, all right, that's able to be extrapolated as fresh drinking water, man. Okay, and this is what these data centers are tying into, is running these wells dry. Okay, they're tapped into these aquifers, okay, and they're sucking up the groundwater, man. You know, this and he don't care. He's so obsessed with trying to be the most high, man, that this man is really destroying the planet and making it unlivable, man. Okay? That's why at the end of the day, this nigga gotta get out of here, man. You see? It says two types, it said types of aquifers. It says unconified aquifers. These lie beneath a permeable layer of soil and are directly connected to the surface. Their upper boundary is the water table, which rises and falls as rainwater infiltrates from above. Conified aquifers. These are sandwiched between two layers of impermeable rock or clay, which prevent waters from seeping out because the water is trapped under heavy pressure. Puncturing these aquifers with a well can force the water to rise naturally, sometimes creating artesian wells, man. You know, and all these things are natural, man. Okay? The earth was meant to live and thrive, man. You know, the systems on the earth from the beginning was set up for the earth to live and thrive, man. But this nigga is one big cancer, man. Okay? This nigga is the problem. You see? So let's get a couple of these precepts, man. All right, then show you too. That's what I wanted to show too. Because where's the EPA? Now, when you go into the EPA, you know, I just asked what is the job of the EPA? All right, this is a government agency, a bureaucracy, which means because a bureaucracy is a government agency that has authority, but it's non-elected officials. Okay. So this is an agency that's supposed to have authority, okay? But then government, it says the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, is a federal agency tasked with protecting human health and the natural environment. It achieves this by developing and enforcing regulations, conducting scientific research, and overseeing hazardous waste cleanups and energy efficient programs across the United States. Well, goddamn, where they at? Okay, so the EPA, all right, was doing a piece of what it's supposed to be doing, man. It wouldn't be one data center, man, because of how hazard it is to the environment, man. It's supposed to be the Environmental Protection Agency, man. What the hell are they? Okay, it says core functions. Okay, okay, of the EPA include enforcing environmental law, translating congressional laws such as the Clean Air Act and the Clean Water Act into enforceable national pollution standards, man. So what is going on? Okay, they've completely been compromised, man. So they are non-factor. USDA, you know, the FDA, all these things are non-factor. CDC, these people are non-factors, man. Okay, and they don't work on the behalf of the people, man. They fulfill the will of the elites, man. You know, and right now, all the EPA has to do is just be quiet, just be silent. Okay, you haven't heard one EPA spokesman speak about the data center, man. Okay, he says reviewing chemicals for safety under Toxic Substance Control Act of 19. All this accent is BS, man. Clean Water, Clean Air Act, and this act is BS, man. Okay? Ain't no sense you reading the rest of it, man. Them niggas ain't doing none of that. Okay? They're not doing one thing. The EPA is not doing one thing that they're supposed to be doing when it comes to these data centers, man. You know, they're not doing one thing. You see? Let's go here. This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 16 and 21. It's brother Mark Ball. It says, behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth that they shall think themselves in good case, and even then shall evils grow upon the earth, the sword, famine, and great confusion. Because people don't see that the water is being depleted up under them, man. You know, they don't understand that this man is actually, you know, sucking life out the earth, man. The water is a source of life, man, because their groundwater plays a heavy part into vegetation, you know, to the forestry, okay, the habitations of certain animals, because that groundwater also cleans the water as well and puts it back into the rivers, you know, and the lakes, the natural bodies of water. Okay, so it's a major ripple effect with these data centers, man. That's why, you know, people don't understand, you know, the ripple effect. You know, is beyond just the light pollution and noise pollution, man. Like, no, this man is actually killing life in the earth, man. The Lord not gonna let this nigga continue on, man. You know, that's why the Lord gonna cut this nigga off swiftly, man. Okay? So people think they're in a good case, but they have no idea the evils that's growing upon the earth, man. Sword, famine, and great confusion, man. Okay? Verse 22, he said, for many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, and the other escape the hunger shall the sword destroy, man. So America gonna be a horror house, man. You know, it's just gonna be a place of great judgment, man. Okay? And rightfully so, man, because this is the place that's been the most proud against Yahweh Bashim al Shah. Okay, your government has you know, instilled the spirit of rebellion and pride into the American society, man. Okay, and that's going to be judged. You see, Revelation 11:18, it says, and the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead that they should be judged. Okay, so now we at the time, all right, where these nations are going to be judged, man, because all these nations are in cahoots with Esau Edom. You know, all these nations are in cahoots with this devil, man. You know, these nations are considered dead because why they don't have the spirit, or they don't have their breath, their Rakakodash. Okay, there's zombies under Esau, man, following this nigga in this rebellion. You see, but now it's the time of judgment. It says, then thou shouldst give reward unto thy servants. So there's a time of judgment, then there's a time of reward as well. Okay, and it says that thou shouldst give reward unto thy servants and prophets, and unto the saints, unto them that fear thy name, small and great, and should destroy them which destroy the earth. Okay, and which destroy them which should destroy the earth, man. And that's Esau, man. All right, he is the them, okay, that destroys the earth, man. Okay, he's the one that destroys the earth. The earth has an Edomite problem. All right, Ecclesiastes 10:3. An unwise king is from the brother Yasha, my tribe of Judah. It says, an unwise king destroyed his people, man. Okay, the earth is ruled by unwise kings, man. This is foolish what this nigga is doing. This new world order is the dumbest idea that the heathen, any heathen that's came up with, man. Okay? Because it destroys, all right, the earth that he has to live on. Okay? You don't give a damn when this nigga can clone, all right, an apple and put fish genes into a strawberry. And like, oh man, it's like it's some magnificent feat. Okay? This is stupid, man. You see? This man is trying to create a system that will destroy his simple ass, man. You see? And it says, an unwise king destroyed his people, but through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited, man, and life is going to flourish under under righteous rulership, man. You know, the earth itself is going to flourish, man. Plant life, animal life, you know, families, you know, these things are going to flourish under our rulership, man, under the rulership of Yahweh. Okay? Sirach 10 and 4. And we can end on this. It said, the power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord. And in due time, he will set over it one that is profitable, man. And we coming into that due time, man, because this nigga can't keep going like this, man. No flesh should be saved. You see? So as we see this nigga wreak more and more havoc, you know, in the earth, all right? We see this nigga bring more havoc in the earth. It just lets us know that the Lord's getting ready to remove this man from power, man. You know, it's vexing to see this nigga still, you know, be able to operate, you know, in his wickedness. You see? It's vexing to see this nigga operate like this, man. Okay? But we know it's just a step closer to the Lord removing this nigga out of here, man. Okay? So we'll leave it there. You know, Lord will, you brothers. All right. And you few sisters will edify once again and give all praise and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem, Rakakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessing, salutation, and hopefully, shalom.